Well, Kim and ladies and gentlemen, Kim, thank you first for those very warm words of introduction. I am still going around saying to people, and I'm not trying to pile on by saying this onto some of your allusions, but I'm going around saying to people that I just got elected. And you may wonder, well, why would I say that after a year? And it doesn't feel like all that long, but I do it because when I'm traveling inside the country and the couple of times I've been outside the country and I go up and introduce myself and say, hi, I'm Tory, the Mayor of Toronto, there's often some funny body language and a puzzled look that come over people's faces. And so I have to sort of say, well, no, I just got elected. I'm not that mayor. I'm telling you the truth. That's the honest truth. So when you talk about that, things, I think people realize that things are changing. I will say that I've learned a lot in the year, and I've learned a lot from, in particular, my colleagues on City Council. They have treated me, notwithstanding my views on term limits, they have treated me respectfully and helpfully because I was new to what is a very big and very complicated job. And many of them, and I'm going to mention those that are here today, are people that have been there for some period of time and have the equal devotion to the city that I have, and have had that for a long time as well. And I will just introduce them to you. Councillors Raymond Cho, John Campbell, Deputy Mayor Vincent Crisanti, Councillor Mary Margaret McMahon, Councillor and Budget Chief Gary Crawford, Councillor Chin Lee, Councillor John Burnside, Deputy Mayor and Councillor Menon Wong, Councillor Kristen Wong Tam, and Councillor Paul Ainsley. I hope I haven't missed anybody. If so, wave your hand furiously. Please give them a round of applause. Would you stand up? Stand up. Oh, and I see Councillor Stephen Holliday right there, and he was not waving his hand, showing you what a modest man that he is. Is there anybody else that didn't wave their hand? There's Paul Ainsley over there. The only other person, including my beloved and most respected by me sister of great accomplishment, Jennifer Tory, is here, and I've now actually mentioned her, but the only other person in the audience, because there's many who I could introduce that I want to just acknowledge and pay tribute to as a friend of mine and somebody who's been very supportive and provided good advice, even though he's a liberal, and that is, I have no party anymore. I'm a statesman now, you see, so that's true. In this job, you have no party. You represent everybody, and it's a pleasure to do that. But I just want to acknowledge my friend, our former Prime Minister, John Turner. So I was sworn into office exactly 1 year ago today. And it has been quite a year, and I have learned a lot. I think if you can't go to work every day and learn, then you're not probably doing the job properly. And so I'd like to try and tell you from one person's perspective where we are as a city and where I think we have to go. I think, as was said by Kim, and I thank her again for her kind introduction, in the past year we have restored civility at City Hall. We are treating one another with respect. Inside the City Hall and, I hope, across the City of Toronto. We've moved beyond the politics of division. I think Toronto is proud of its diversity. It views it as a source of great strength, and so that means you don't pit people against one another. What you do is try and get people every day of your life, every hour of your day, to work together, and we're working together as council. The process, has its own, takes its own course, and it takes time sometimes. But we are working much better together. And in addition to the councillors working better with one another, I can assure you there has been an excellent relationship established. Certainly, from my perspective, with our public service, who are professional, dedicated people who have the city's best interests at heart. And what we're trying to do is move things forward in a productive, collaborative manner. So beyond that, you have to accept the fact and take on the significant challenge represented by the fact that this is a city that is growing very quickly. Toronto is expected to grow by 500,000 people in the next 25 years, and that brings with it very significant challenges. But the growth is a good thing. It's a good thing because the people that will represent that growth represent our strength. Toronto is home and will continue to be home to a highly diverse and highly educated population. We have 4 excellent universities, and I saw the president of at least one of them here at lunch today, Sarah Diamond from OCAD University. We have 4 colleges. We're the financial center of Canada, and we're home to a whole variety of industries and opportunities. And I think our city really is on the verge of something really great in global terms. And that is why it is important that we rally around a shared vision of what we want Toronto to be. And I think that our goals can be centered around 3 objectives: a city that works, a city that moves, and a city that cares. And I want to go through each of these priority areas today and then talk about the financial decisions that we need to make in order to support those objectives. My focus as mayor is to build with my colleagues a smart government and a robust economy by investing in talent, by keeping taxes low, by propelling growth and making sure that we are connecting people to jobs in every part of Toronto at every opportunity. But I don't want Toronto to be just another great economy. We want that. It's at the root of everything else we do, is having a great, strong, robust, diverse economy. I want Toronto, though, to be the city as well of game changers, the home of game changers. And that means creating an innovative environment here where new industries can emerge and where startups can both scale up and grow and stay. And I think we've had a problem in particular with the latter one. I want talented people, not just to invent things here and not just to be born here, but to build their careers here as well as their whole lives here. And as a city, that means we have to understand where the world is going, to embrace that change and work to mitigate the impact that that change is having on the existing economy. That kind of support for innovation is what differentiates me from those who would, for example, try to ban disruptive technologies in an era of rapid change. I just don't happen to believe that is a realistic or productive way forward for us to try and ban these things and turn back the hands of time and put the genie back in the bottle. You have to mitigate the effects on the existing economy, but embrace change at the same time. And it's one of the reasons why I'll be working hard, and you'll see this in the days ahead, to put Toronto on the map as an innovative region in partnership with our friends in Kitchener-Waterloo. As you can see from the map here, the distance between Toronto and Kitchener-Waterloo, itself a huge hub of highly educated, highly respected people, is no bigger than the distance between San Francisco and Silicon Valley. And so they've managed to make that into a very effective region that's a powerhouse, and we have the potential to do exactly the same thing. And of course, as you know, building a modern economy means we've also got to provide people who rely on us outside the City Hall, a 21st century government for a 21st century city. And that means we have to do much more to use technology and data more effectively to serve the people of Toronto and improve the way we communicate with them and improve the way we provide services to them using the technology and the data. There's an example up here on the screen. Again, it's hard to see, but it's an example of this kind of work. You will soon be able to monitor your own water usage online. And this will help promote conservation. It will help to reduce our city's costs through the effective deployment of smart meters and the ability of people to go online. You can't believe the number of phone calls people get from the city saying, why is my water bill the way it is, when that kind of a graph you can there explains. Probably is explained in terms of the peaks by periods of no rainfall in the summer when people were watering their lawns or this kind of thing. And it's just smart to use that technology. And ladies and gentlemen, we need to repeat that kind of exercise over and over again in every area of city life. Quite frankly, we've fallen behind on that through a failure to make the kind of investments that are needed in this. It will lead to better, more efficient, more responsive service to the people of Toronto, and there's much more of that to come. We also have to ensure that people can move around the city quickly, safely, and efficiently. Traffic and transportation and mobility are another significant focus and something that we're working to improve across the divisions. One significant transit improvement you'd be disappointed if I didn't speak about that will soon be available to commuters is SmartTrack. And I talk about it not because it was something that I promoted during the course of seeking this office, but because I think it is going to make such a profound difference. SmartTrack is, of course, a plan built on the simple fact that there are existing rail corridors that run through Toronto that are not currently being used by enough Toronto commuters, local commuters. More stations and more service along those existing rail corridors will give the people of Toronto access to the same rail service inside the City of Toronto that people coming, for example, from Barrie or from Brampton experience now on those GO Transit lines. A city report just made public tells us that SmartTrack would connect with 75 existing streetcar and bus routes. And that kind of connectivity into the broader picture of moving people is vital. It will provide relief to overcrowded subways because people will have a different way to get where they're going. It can be done soon. And I can tell you that in just 1 year, what we have done already is we've got a lot of the work on underway to sort out a lot of the technical and other kinds of challenges that these big projects face, but we've also, in 1 year, to them, some representatives of the provincial government are here, and I commend them and thank them for that support of something that I think is going to be vital to Toronto and to its economy and to just the life of the people who reside here. But Toronto can't just repeat what it's done in the past and focus on one project at a time, as good as Smart Track might be. When it comes to transit, we are already too far behind. We've been working hard then to do other things at the same time. For example, restoring 61 bus routes cancelled by my predecessor, offering rear door boarding, letting kids under 12 ride for free. We've also stopped the misleading subways, subways, subways sloganeering. And we've stopped it because it wasn't the answer. The answer rests in advancing a realistic, sensible, balanced approach that acknowledges that all of subways, LRTs, buses, streetcars have their role to play in a truly integrated transportation system. Don't worry, I'll get to bikes. We will be developing a citywide priority list for these, because while we have different lists you've probably seen, there isn't at the moment a list that everybody has bought into, all the different people that have to. Metrolinx, the provincial organization, the TTC, City Council, the other governments, and so on. And this will be a list that balances the need to move people across the waterfront, the north of the city, North York, the east, and the west, because it has to be something that addresses a problem that is a citywide challenge at the moment. And I assure you one more thing. We will be changing the way we build these projects. Too many projects in the past have been delivered late and over budget. That is not acceptable, and it will not continue. And we will find the ways that have been found in the area of other kinds of projects in the public domain to get these things done on time and on budget. We also have much more work to do on congestion. There are intelligent ways to improve the driving experience in Toronto. You can see from this graphic, and what this graphic results from, by the way, is for the first time using data that was available. There's all kinds of people using the technology of today, collecting data on the movement of traffic, the very same applications that allow you to go online and figure out the best route to go home based on current traffic conditions. And they tell us that one of the biggest contributors you'll see on the left-hand side of the chart is bottlenecks. These are intersections and places in the city where there are conditions that exist that just cause automatically, day after day, traffic to bog down. And I can assure you, when the second phase of our congestion management plan is rolled out, it will include measures like hotspot improvements, using this data to identify, which we've now done, the 10 most congested intersections, and then do something at those intersections to get the traffic moving. And as promised, you cannot talk about getting a city moving and address issues of density and the way people are getting around in the 21st century without addressing the challenge of cycling. And we're going to move as quickly as we can to complete a smart, responsible network of separated bike lanes, because I think this is the sensible way to go about this, a network of separated bike lanes in sensible locations. I want cyclists to have reliable corridors that they can use to move around the city. And I want these routes to be introduced in collaboration with business and with local residents and with the members of the cycling community itself. We also have our work cut out for us in making Toronto safer for pedestrians. This, I regret to tell you, is a map that shows on it where pedestrian deaths have taken place just this year. And sadly, as you can see, they occur in every part of the city for a variety of reasons. This is an unnecessary and unacceptable tragedy, and we have to do better. And that is why the Transportation Division is developing a road safety plan for Toronto. It's all about educating people, and at the end, it's really all about saving lives. In Toronto, we also believe in looking after each other so that we can build the city up together in a way that works for everyone. And that makes an issue like housing especially important. Toronto community housing is in crisis. I don't think it is an exaggeration to say that. Any organization that has a repair backlog of $2.5 billion has a crisis on its hands. It's a crisis that I've acknowledged. And I would say to you that you would all agree with me if you visited those buildings, some of you will have had the chance, that the families who live in those buildings deserve better. The Toronto Community Housing Task Force will recommend measures to address this issue, but we need more help from the other governments. Acting alone is not practical on the backs of property taxpayers alone, but not acting at all would be irresponsible. So we'll work to introduce all kinds of affordable housing across Toronto in addition to addressing the challenges posed by our current social housing stock. Affordable housing is an economic and social challenge.